Viewer discretion is advised.
Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer may not have been a coward, but he was a lot of things. Let's just list off some of his incredible accomplishments, sarcasm, in his under one season as head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Signing Tim Tebow to a one-year $920,000 deal to play tight end. Breaking practice rules, violating the collective bargaining agreement, releasing Tim Tebow prior to the regular season, telling Vic Fangio that every week in the NFL is like playing Alabama, staying in Ohio after a Thursday night loss to party in a bar with a random young woman on his lap, benching James Robinson, and not knowing that Andre Sisco played 0 snaps in a game. And the nail in the coffin, a video that confirmed an accusation from former Jags kicker Josh Lambo that Meyer had kicked him. And that's not ironic, that's just funny. Meyer was fired with cause after that accusation was proven true, in a stark reminder to Shad Khan that he could make decisions related to the team he owned. Now, that's all a dysfunction, actually not all of it, but we haven't even mentioned how much he sucked as a coach. Meyer was able to make Trevor Lawrence look like a certified bust after his rookie year, and now we all owe Trevor a major apology. And Andre Sisco has quietly turned into one of the league's best young safeties. Meyer won just 2 of his 13 games in Duval and is widely panned as one of the worst head coaches ever in the history of the NFL. Just look at this beauty. This is what you came for, isn't it? Though being sold as a renovation, this is essentially a teardown and rebuild with a ultra-modern interior and exterior on the same site as Duval, the only stadium the Jaguars have known. The renderings show a new widened concourse to alleviate crowd congestion, a translucent roof to keep the fans cooler, and multiple entertainment spaces that plan to be fully interactive and immersive. The venue is also designed with other events in mind, like concerts and 2 football teams' fan bases getting absolutely hammered on a Saturday. I guess they could call it the world's largest indoor cocktail party now. I love the renderings and concepts here. It looks like if all this gets funded and executed, it will be the NFL's shiny new toy where they can actually justify hosting a Super Bowl in Jacksonville this time. There is no target date set for now, but like Bart Scott, I can't wait. This one will be part of a massive renovation soon, one that might cause the Jags to be homeless for a couple years. But it's still hard to believe this place hosted a Super Bowl. The new plans look amazing. Tom, take it away.
That stadium needs to be renovated. But the things like that make it unique. They have the cabanas, which are so unique that you could rent out cabanas and you could rent out a pool. So like you could buy like 20-ish tickets and you have this little spot where it's a bunch of cabanas and there's a pool. Like you could sit in the pool and watch the football game be played. Like that's really cool. They have this whole space in the back of the end zone where they set up like bar tables and like you're in the back of the end zone, and like so they have like some cool little features about it, but it's definitely a stadium that needs to get renovated.
NFL mascot Jackson Duval. Yes, this dude cracks me up. Guy is constantly pushing the limits for what a mascot can do, trolling fans, crazy outfits. And if you follow the NFL, you know who Jackson Duval is. He's that notable. Here's a look at some of his highlights. Surely you will be entertained.
28-yard strike from Lawrence to Hasty.
Jacksonville Jaguars. Plenty of bad quarterbacks to sift through, but after being selected as the 10th overall pick in the loaded 2011 draft, and they traded up for him, Blaine Gabbert lost all but 5 of his 27 starts, completing a paltry 53% of his passes in Duval. His only worthy accomplishment with the Jags is this soundbite.
Whoa there, motherfucker!
Jacksonville Jaguars, Hayden Epstein. Let's take a trip to Epstein Island, where Hayden Epstein missed 4 of his 9 kicks for the Jags in 2002 before a hit was put out on him and he never touched a football in the NFL again. The Jacksonville Jaguars, Derrick Henry. I pulled Twitter looking for suggestions for who the Jags' most hated player is, and it was unanimous. Derrick Henry. Since 2018, Henry has put up wild numbers versus the Jag. 2 200-yard games, and in only 14 games, he has 1,411 yards and 16 TDs. pure domination with bruising, angry running. And the Jacksonville Jaguars. I said it, Jaguar, on purpose. After a 5-year, $27 million deal to come to Duval, Hugh Douglas racked up just 3.5 sacks in 1 year before his release and admitted to essentially stealing from Jacksonville during the 2003 season, calling it a vacation. Gene Smith, Jacksonville Jaguars. Some of the GMs on this list will have flashes of success. For Gene Smith, he had absolutely none. Not exactly a household name, Smith was an OG member of the Jaguars since their inception in 1997, working his way up the ladder when he was hired as GM in 2009 and was at the helm for 4 years. 4 incredibly terrible years. Smith started his tenure off by firing the beloved and respected Jack Del Rio and replacing him with Mike Mularkey, a coach whom my late friend and ex-Jaguar Uche Nwaneri referred to as a fucking asshole and an idiot. Smith traded up to draft Blaine Gabbert and inserted him into the starting role before he even knew the playbook. He poorly drafted Eben Britton, Tyson Alawahu, and overpaid for free agents Torrey Holt. Yes, Jags legend Torrey Holt, as well as Aaron Campman, DeJuan Landry, and Aaron Ross, who openly remarked he was given a $14 million paid vacation. In his time in Duval, no player Smith drafted nor acquired made a Pro Bowl, and even his rare hit like Justin Blackmon was run out of the league after a couple seasons due to personal and legal issues. After being fired in 2009, Smith finished his 4-year tenure with a 22-42 record and left the Jags gutted and in disarray. The Jacksonville Jaguars' Shahid Khan. Original Jags owner Wayne Weaver led the expansion bid for the Jaguars and had early success with the team, but after 2007 he might have stopped caring about football. That's when he sold to Shahid Khan, who somehow cares less about the team. Khan has a record of 60-135 and has been eyeing London since he bought the team, playing many home games across the pond. There was even a clown out at his own stadium by the fans. Finally, the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars. When Doug Peterson entered the scene as their new head coach in 2022, it was like a breath of fresh air. The adult finally in the room. The guy you knew would never miss a team flight to stay in Ohio to finger blast a bar skank, or literally and ironically kick a kicker. But before they landed on Urban Meyer, the Jags had quite the revolving door of head coaches too. An unforgettable 2-14 campaign led by Mike, his name literally translates to bullshit Mularkey, a stellar 14-48 record from Gus Bradley, and Doug Marrone.
What a maroon.
Marrone malarkeyed his way to the AFC Championship in 2017 on the back of the Saxonville defense, then followed up that absolute fluke season with records of 5-11, 6-10, and 1-15. The Urban Meyer era in Jacksonville is well documented, but for all the bullshit he pulled, the most unforgivable move he ever made was thinking it was a good idea to let Tim Tebow play tight end during the preseason. Seriously, we as a society have really glossed over the fact that the Heisman-winning quarterback, barely serviceable commercial actor, and New York Mets legend Tim Tebow took snaps as a tight end for the Jags in 2021. Yeah, I didn't forget. If that wasn't the canary in the coal mine for the absolute clown show that was to come, I don't know what was. The coaches that came before him were bad, but not bad guys. In his partial season as the Jags head coach, Meyer was vindictive, abusive, and just plain god-awful when he took the jump to the NFL. He violated practice rules, he touched a woman who was very much not his wife, while the rest of the team was in Jacksonville, and he finally got the boot after a video revealed that his boot struck kicker Josh Lambo prior to a preseason game. I mean, it's all good though, Jaguars. You could be the Cowboys. Jacksonville Jaguars. We all know Blaine Yo Gabba Gabbert, aka
Oh there, motherfucker!
was not worth a first-round pick. He was also not worth trading up for, as the Jags swapped first with the Skins and also sent them a second-rounder to move up 6 slots. Jack Del Rio didn't even know they were drafting the ineffective Gabbert, and the Skins took Ryan Kerrigan at 16. Jacksonville Jaguars, David Caldwell. Look, Trent Baalke nearly got ran out of town, but Dave Caldwell should be burned in effigy. GM of the Jags from 2013 to 2020. They were garbage every year, but that one weird season where they were minutes away from going to the Super Bowl. Caldwell let Yannick Ngakoue go for nothing. He spent money on Toby Gerhart, Devon House, and Julius Thomas as they tried to make another run. Blake Bortles was a disaster, and they overpaid for him too. Chad Henne and drafting all-time busts Luke Jokel and Justin Blackmon were the chef's kiss. Now you have the former Super Bowl host that has also had 5 name changes. Everbank Stadium used to be Alltel Stadium, TIAA Bank Field, Everbank Field, and Jacksonville Municipal Stadium, but everyone simply knows it as Duval. This was one of the weirdest host stadiums ever selected, as the NFL chose Jacksonville to host Super Bowl 39 in 2006, and there's nothing particularly special about the place, and given the spread out nature of the city of Jacksonville, again, it was an interesting choice. I guess I gotta spread that dough around. The stadium is scheduled for a massive remodel in 2025 that might make it one of the best in the NFL when they are done. And that just got approved, so it is coming. The Jacksonville Jaguars. In 2023, it was discovered that a Jaguars employee had stolen millions of dollars from them, and it was not Urban Meyer. Federal investigators allege Jags employee Amit Patel manipulated the Jaguars' virtual credit card program to steal $22 million during a scheme that began in September 2019 and ended in February after an investigation and his subsequent termination. Sounds like the plot of Office Space.
We're going to federal pound me in the ass prison.
Everbank Stadium in Jacksonville was opened in 1995 and is set to be replaced with a complete rebuild/renovation in 2028. It will be closed in 2027, having hosted 32 NFL seasons. Jacksonville Jaguars 2021, Week 14, and then Week 17. The Jaguars hit rock bottom in 2021 when head coach Urban Meyer was fired after just 13 games. A humiliating 20-0 Week 14 loss to the Tennessee Titans epitomized the dysfunction. Meyer's tenure was marred by off-field shenanigans, piss-poor leadership, and embarrassing moments like the head coach ironically kicking the kicker during practice. The loss prompted Meyer's dismissal, signaling a need for a complete cultural overhaul to restore the franchise's credibility, which, how's that going? The team's fans then staged a clown out to protest both their apathetic owner and GM Trent Baalke. Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars were minutes away from their first Super Bowl appearance, and just like that, the refs and the world went against them. Just kidding, their buttholes tightened up like the Ocean Gate submarine, and they didn't trust Blake Bortles to make a single pass. Since then, the Jags have been nowhere near a Super Bowl run, and have had a full rebuild and a slew of coaches since.
Jacksonville Jaguars, 2020, C.J. Henderson. Henderson lasted just 10 games with Jacksonville before being traded. Miss. 2021, Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence had a horrible rookie year and looked to be a bit of a bust until about midway through last year when he finally showed why he was the most sought-after quarterback in years. He looks to be a future star. Hit. 2021, Travis Etienne. Etienne missed his rookie season with an injury, but last year showed why he was so highly touted. He looks to be a hit. 2022, Travon Walker. Walker has to be one of the most irrelevant first overall picks that I can think of. His rookie season was okay at best, and he really didn't show why he deserved to go first overall. So far, he's been mid. 2022, Devin Lloyd. Lloyd had some flashes as a rookie, but he still has some issues in terms of coverage. Thus far, I would say he's mid.
Jacksonville Jaguars, 2007, David Garrard. I know that Jags fans are hoping someday soon Trevor Lawrence will take the mantle here, but for now I went with Garrard. In 2007 he missed 4 games, but he still finished with 18 touchdowns to 3 interceptions and a passer rating of 102.2. He also led a great comeback versus Pittsburgh in the playoffs, which set up a divisional round matchup with the undefeated New England Patriots. Garrard and the Jaguars gave it their all and put up a respectable effort, but they fell short, 31-20. Whatever happened to Garrard anyway? He was always a solid quarterback, and then one day he poof, just disappeared. Jacksonville Jaguars. Congrats, Jagoff fans, on winning an awful division and a playoff game against the Chargers, who are famous for choking. You think you're hot shit now, huh? Trevor Lawrence has sucked for 70% 75% of his career, and you all want to put him in the Hall of Fame right now, you sick bastards. As an Eagles fan, I will always have a soft spot for visor enthusiast slash ice cream boss Doug Peterson, but doing a better coaching job than Urban Meyer isn't exactly the most difficult task. Now that your team has real expectations again for the first time since you choked away your random-ass conference championship game appearance in 2017, there is no doubt you will flop and miss the playoffs again. Travon Walker is quietly on his way to being one of the worst first overall picks ever. You guys could have taken Aiden Hutchinson, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, or Chris Olave, but instead you took a combine merchant. Also, one last thing, I will pronounce Jaguars any way I want. Your shitty franchise has done nothing to make me respect you or the quote-unquote proper pronunciation of your team's name. Jaguars, Jaguars, Jaguars. Jacksonville Jaguars. As you can tell, the Jaguars' conservation status, they are near threatened. Their population is decreasing, so the Jaguars organization is making money and fame off of the suffering of these beautiful, gorgeous animals. But it's not just that. As we all know, there is also a brand of cars named Jaguar, and these are gas cars. They use gas, which submits very, very toxic and harmful odors into the environment, destroys the ozone layer. So the Jacksonville Jaguars are promoting the suffering of animals, and they're also promoting pollution with their name. I'm literally shitting my pants right now in disgust. Jacksonville Jaguars, C.J. Henderson. Henderson has been one of the most under-talked about weird careers ever. He was selected 9th overall in 2020 by Jacksonville. He played 8 games his rookie season and had 1 interception. Then early on in his second season in Jacksonville, he gets traded. Now maybe this was Urban Meyer shit, I don't know, but that was the Urban Meyer year. He got traded from Jacksonville to Carolina, where he's been ever since, and he's been decent, nothing special. But overall, for the Jaguars, for a guy who was picked 9th overall, the Jaguars got just 10 games out of him and 1 interception. I don't know how anybody can say that's anything but a Jacksonville Jaguars, Doug Peterson. Dougie P. Everybody fell in love with Dougie P in Jacksonville after the first year when they went 9-8 and they won a playoff game, that magical comeback versus the Chargers, which is really not saying much. But anyway, they come back last year and they do the exact opposite of what they did in 2022, where they started out great last year and then blew it, finished with the same record 9-8, but missed the playoffs in what was supposed to be the next step year for them. Trevor Lawrence still hasn't become the generational quarterback everybody thought he would be. Now Peterson, because he does have a Super Bowl championship on his resume, is probably going to get a little bit more slack than some other coaches in this situation. So I think he probably has, if Lawrence stays about as bad or as mediocre as he's been, he has about 2 or 3 more years with the Jaguars. So right now I would say his seat's a little bit toasty. Probably put it about a 2 out of 5. Nothing extreme, but 2 out of 5. Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence. I feel like I've been saying this for the last year or two. When is the dominant season going to come? Still waiting for that dominant breakout season. Again, this was a guy that many teams for years ahead of time were talking about, hey, you got to tank for this dude back when he was at Clemson. And when you talk about a guy like that, to me, you better be a dominant quarterback in the NFL. And simply put, Lawrence hasn't been that, at least yet. Like I said, he's been overhyped his entire career. And honestly, even watching him in college, I thought he was a little bit overhyped. Again, relative to the hype. I'm not saying that he can't be a good quarterback. I'm not saying that he wasn't a great college quarterback, but the hype has always seemed to be a little bit more than the actual substance with him. The one thing I do like about Lawrence is that throws a lot of passes deep, throws a lot of balls in the double coverage. He doesn't play quarterback like a pussy, so I can respect that about him. But even for me, as a guy who hates checkdowns, every now and then I don't mind a quarterback checking down. So I think sometimes Lawrence actually needs to learn it's okay to throw the ball short every now and then instead of going for the home run on every play. And CJ Stroud's emergence means that the AFC South will not be as easy for the Jaguars as many once thought after 2022, when they won the division and they won a playoff game and they went to Kansas City. They almost made the conference championship game. And everyone said, oh, the AFC South is going to be the Jaguars division for years to come because the Texans suck and blah, blah, blah. Well, CJ Stroud said, no, that's changing. And plus, we still don't know how Anthony Richardson's going to turn out. But if he hits, that's another guy. So Jaguars and their fans probably a little bit upset right now. Anyway, Lawrence's prove it rating, 9 out of 10. Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence. Again, every video I make about the Jaguars, it's just keep waiting for Lawrence to make the leap. And people thought, okay, he had the terrible rookie year under Urban Meyer, and he was pretty bad for the first half of his second season once they got Doug Peterson in there, and then he went on a nice run, and the Jaguars had that winning streak, and they won the playoff game. They had the comeback, and then they lost to the Chiefs, and everyone went, oh, here he is. He's arrived. The guy that we've been touting since he was in high school as the next great quarterback, he's finally here, and the coronation was premature. He's still unbelievably inconsistent. He just hasn't taken the next step. And I got to say this, people say, well, you got to be patient with young quarterbacks. And I said, well, maybe if this was couple decades ago, you could be. But in today's NFL, when the rules are geared really towards every offensive player, and the rules are geared for quarterbacks to have every advantage possible, if you're still kind of struggling and still kind of mediocre going into year 4, then chances are that's probably who you are. So Trevor Lawrence, not terrible, but simply hasn't come close to living up to the hype that he's had in the coming out of college.
Jacksonville Jaguars, Blaine Gabbert, 2011. It was close between Blaine Gabbert and Blake Bortles in his rookie season, but I decided to go with Gabbert, future Super Bowl champion multiple times. He started 14 games and went 4-10. He completed 51% of his passes, barely threw for any yards. He actually had more touchdown passes than interceptions, which is interesting, but his passer rating was a disgusting 65.4, and this was in 2011, mind you, the year where a bunch of quarterbacks had amazing seasons because defenses were behind the 8 ball with the lockout, and he still was dog shit. And he would remain dog shit. He's actually one of the worst quarterbacks ever to be qualified in terms of throwing for over 1,500 passes in his career, but he somehow keeps hanging around and he keeps racking up the Super Bowl rings as a back.
The Jaguars are one of 2 of the NFL's new expansion teams. The Jaguars were a side of the small city of Jacksonville, Florida, an odd choice for a franchise, but who cares? Led by head coach Tom Coughlin and quarterback Mark Brunell, the Jags finished 4-12 and dead last in the AFC Central. However, they ended their season on a high note by defeating the Cleveland Browns at home. The journey of the Jacksonville Jaguars has begun.
In the draft, with your first 2 picks, you select 2 future Pro Bowlers, linebacker Kevin Hardy and defensive end Tony Brackens. Your season starts off poorly as you go 3-4, but you have a turnaround after Week 8 where Brunell threw several picks. Wide receiver Ajay Rice was waived to replace Jimmy Smith. In the last week, you are playing the Falcons with the season on the line, and one of the greatest kickers of all time, Morton Anderson, is trying to take the lead on a 30-yard field goal, and he somehow misses? Your prayers have been answered. You narrowly beat the Bills and Broncos 30-27 in the playoffs, but now you're up against the Patriots in the AFC Championship. Despite losing 20-6, it is impressive that you got there at all. Making the AFC Championship in your second year is no easy feat. You'll be back, don't worry.
What a season. 11-5, second in the Central, and 5 Pro Bowlers. Hope is as high as it can be in Jacksonville. Sadly, in the wildcard round, your hopes, dreams, and brains are stomped in the ground by John Elway and the Broncos. Better luck next year.
Going into the draft, your best pick is a running back named Fred Taylor. Usually taking running backs in the first round is a big no-no, but it'll work out as he becomes a Pro Bowler. Like last year, you go 11-5, but now it's playoff time. For the last 3 years, you've made the playoffs and come up short. It's time to change that. You beat the Patriots in the wild card 25-10, but in the divisional, you go up against the Jets. Like the previous seasons, you'd fall short. The Jets dominated you the entire time, and it doesn't help that Brunell threw 3 picks and completed less than half his damn passes. Try again next year.
Oh my god, you're going to the Super Bowl. It's just guaranteed. 7 Pro Bowlers and a first-round bye at 14-2. In the divisional, you exterminated Dan Marino and the Dolphins 62-7. In the AFC Championship, you're facing the Tennessee Titans, who swept you in the regular season, but you're too hot to lose right now. They stand no chance. Alright, you're up 14-10 at halftime and are half away from going to the Super Bowl. This is destiny. Jacksonville, what the fuck? 0 points in the second half? You had everything going your way and you do that? You made history. First team ever to lose to the same team 3 times in one season. Congratulations.
You blew it!
Instead of having another fantastic year, you struggle to get half the wins you did in 1999. With your lone Pro Bowler being Jimmy Smith, it seems that you are slipping into mediocrity.
In the draft, you got defensive tackle Marcus Stroud from Georgia, and you started out the season 2-0. Alright, now ride the momentum throughout the rest of the season, and you finished 6-10. Wow.
In the 2002 expansion draft, you lose Tony Baselli, Gary Walker, and Seth Payne. However, in the draft, you select 2 future Pro Bowlers, defensive tackle John Henderson and quarterback Davis Garrard. Despite starting the season 3-1, you forget how to play football and finish 6-10. Look on the bright side, at least your punter made the Pro Bowl.
You finally fired Tom Coughlin and replaced him with Jack Del Rio. You drafted Byron Leftwich in the first round and got Rasheem Mathis in the second round. However, Mike Brunell has severely regressed and is benched after losing the first 3 games, and he leaves the team at the end of the season. Byron Leftwich takes the reins for the rest of the season and is shit. You finished 5-11 and most likely would have finished 4-12, but you can thank John Carney for that.
You don't select any future Pro Bowlers in the draft. Despite this, there is a big turnaround as you finish off the season 9-7 and just barely miss the playoffs. This also marks the year that Byron Leftwich takes over as a full-time starter. If you keep progressing like this, you'll get there, trust me.
Things are really progressing nicely. 12-4 record, second in the South, Marcus Stroud making the Pro Bowl, and Byron Leftwich having his best season ever with 2,123 yards, 15 touchdowns, and only 5 picks. However, he met the Patriots dynasty in the wild card and got steamrolled 28-3. Wait, that's not right. There we go.
This is the first year in a while that there is actually hope in Jacksonville. You start off by selecting 2 future Pro Bowlers, tight end Mercedes Lewis and running back Maurice Jones-Drew. After week 14, things are looking great as you are 8-5. However, in the last 3 games, you forget that to get in the playoffs, you have to clinch a spot and lose them all. I'm at a loss for words to the level of your ineptitude. Get out of my face.
In the offseason, you signed a bunch of players, drafted Reggie Nelson, but most importantly, traded Byron Leftwich in favor of starting David Garrard. This clearly worked out in your favor. You went 11-5, second in the South. Fred Taylor made the Pro Bowl, and Garrett is already better than Leftwich, throwing for 2,509 yards, 18 touchdowns, and only 3 picks. You beat the Steelers in the wild card thanks to a game-winning field goal from Josh Scobie to win 31-29. In the divisional round, you're playing the Patriots again. Good luck. All right, tie game at 14 apiece at halftime. You got this. You only put up 6 points in the second half. 6. Oh my fucking god, Jaguars, just get the fuck out.
You only had a few picks in the draft, and none of them were very notable. After the bye week, you are at an underwhelming 3-5, but it somehow gets worse and you finish 5-11. You can blame this on the offensive line having the worst luck. You lost your 2 starting guards in the first quarter of week 1, and Richard Collier was unfortunately brutally attacked and shot 14 times in September. You had many other injuries as well. You once again follow up an amazing season with a disappointing one.
For some reason, Jack Del Rio is still your head coach, and you go 7-9. David Garrard and Maurice Jones-Drew made the Pro Bowl, which is cool, I guess, but no significant change is going to happen until you fire Jack Del Rio. This shouldn't be that hard, Jacksonville.
In the offseason, you lose Torrey Holt and John Henderson, and with no superstars in the draft, it looks like you are in for another long haul. However, after week 14, you are 8-5. You then proceed to fucking lose the next 3 games, and your season ends at 8-8 with no playoffs. I mean, I guess technically it's improvement.
In the draft, you got top quarterback prospect Blaine Gabbert. I'm sure he'll be just what Jacksonville needs. In free agency, you signed a bunch of defensive players which made an immediate impact as you finished with the 6th best defense in the league, which is worlds better than last year's 28th ranked. Maurice Jones-Drew also made the Pro Bowl again. However, despite everything, you start out 3-8 and finally fired Jack Del Rio, which took way too long to do. You finished the season 5-11, and sorry about this, but Blaine Gabbert fucking sucks. Good luck with that.
In the first round of the draft, you select infamous bust Justin Blackmon. Your best pick was a 3rd-round punter named Brian Anger. This is your worst season in franchise history. Gabbert played like Helen Keller, and the rest of the team was too shitty to make up for it. You finished at 2-14.
You fired Gene Smith and Mike Mularkey after your worst season ever and replaced them with David Caldwell as GM and Gus Bradley as head coach. Paul Posluszny made the Pro Bowl, but Blaine Gabbert was Blaine Gabbert and you went 4-12. But it's alright, Jacksonville. He can't hurt you anymore. He's gone.
Since Gabbert is finally gone, with your first-round pick, you select the future of this team, Blake Bortles. You had a few other notable names as well, such as Allen Robinson and Telvin Smith. Despite your relatively good offseason, you still suck. Heck, you slightly regress as you go 3-13.
This season was hardly better than last year as you went 5-11. At least Allen Robinson made the Pro Bowl.
In the offseason, you signed Malik Jackson. However, your star punter Brian Anger left. You had another good draft as you picked Jalen Ramsey and Miles Jack. Despite the improvement on paper, you still suck ass. With lackluster quarterback play and poor running back performance, you go 3-13. Try again next year, boys.
Signed Doug Marrone as your new head coach and got a ton of defensive players in the offseason, such as AJ Boye and Calais Campbell. With the 4th overall pick in the draft, you selected LSU running back Leonard Fournette. This season was phenomenal. Blake Bortles is great. You won the AFC South for the first time since 1999 with a 10-6 record, but your defense is what shines the most here. Defensive players taking the ranks as Pro Bowlers and AP All-Pros. It's so good that it deserves its own nickname. You beat the Bills in the wildcard round 10-3, and the divisional round, you upset the Steelers on the road. You're back in the AFC Championship for the first time in years and are up against a familiar foe in the New England Patriots. If there's anyone that can stop Tom Brady, it's the might of Saxonville. You were up 20-10 in the fourth quarter and were Super Bowl bound, but of course, in typical Jaguars fashion, you fucking blew it.
Despite choking in embarrassing fashion, it is a new year and you have to continue the success. Taven Bryan, DJ Chark, and Ronnie Harrison are your best selections. Expectations are high, but it looks as if the players are even higher as you finish at fucking 5-11. I don't even know what to say.
In the draft, you selected Josh Allen. No, not that Josh Allen. This Josh Allen. You also selected Gardner Minshew in a later round. In the offseason, you got Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles as your new quarterback for $88 million. Nick Foles is alright, but $88 million? I hope you know what you're doing. And of course, Nick Foles gets injured and only throws 8 total throws as a Jaguar. That's one of the most Jags things to happen. With all of this bad luck, you finished 6-10.
In the offseason, you trade Ramsey and cut Fournette. Interesting moves, but trust the process. Despite having 12 picks, only one of them is very notable, C.J. Henderson. After you defeat Indianapolis 27-20 in Week 1, you make a tweet that shows your true ambition for the year. Well, maybe you were satisfied with only one as you lose the other 15 games. Nice.
You finally fired Doug Marrone, and to replace him you hired Ohio State legend Urban Meyer, who had to resign from coaching due to health issues. It is a bold signing, and the rest of the NFL mocks the hell out of you for it. What's the worst that can happen, right? You traded Minshew to the Eagles, and with the first overall pick, you selected quarterback Trevor Lawrence from Clemson. The best quarterback prospect ever seen since Andrew Luck is now yours. With your other first-round pick, you drafted Travis Etienne, running back out of Clemson, which is an interesting choice. But the best signing of all was the returning Tim Tebow, this time as a tight end. Look at his incredible blocking skills. Shame that he got cut before the season began. Travis Etienne is also out for the year due to an injury in training camp. In the season, you pick up right where you left off with your losing streak. But after your Week 4 loss on Thursday Night Football in Cincinnati, Urban Meyer chooses to stay behind and not ride home with the team. He preferred to be ridden at a local bar. He's also a married man and a father of 3. But thankfully for you, John Gruden overshadowed his antics the following week. You finally get a win in London versus Miami. You also upset the Bills at home. But Trevor Lawrence is performing horribly, James Robinson isn't starting, and there's questionable play calling all around. But we shouldn't question anything going on in Jacksonville right now, because Urban Meyer's a winner that kicks his own players. This is the final straw for Shad Khan, and Urban Meyer is fired. Didn't even last a full season, but will live forever in infamy as one of the worst head coaches in NFL history. This organization is just pathetic. So pathetic that your fans are going to dress up as fucking clowns in your final game of the season. It's against the Colts, who haven't won in Jacksonville since 2014, but are pushing to make the playoffs. You're fucked. Wait, you actually beat the shit out of the Colts? Despite everything that happened, the Colts still choked. Well, I'll be damned, Jags. You did something really good to end the season. Congratulations. Also, congrats on clinching the first overall pick for the second straight year.
For your new head coach, you hire Doug Peterson, who last coached a shitty Eagles team. But it's not Urban Meyer, so that's all that matters. In the offseason, you decided to make the big brain decision of chucking money at anything that moves, such as Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram. My guess is that you hate money more than being a good football team. In the draft, you made the big mistake of drafting Trayvon Walker instead of Aiden Hutchinson. Trayvon is and will be great, but Aiden has a much higher ceiling. You also drafted Devin Lloyd in the first round. This season is going to be very vital in having any hopes of saving Trevor Lawrence's career. So far, the AFC South is the worst division in football, and you're 4-8. The Titans are going to lock up the division, and your playoff chances are gone. What the hell? You're on an incredible run with 4 straight wins and have a chance to win the AFC South at home against a battered Titans team. Holy shit, you did it! You won the South! You're in the playoffs! Even though no one expects you to be here, you're still a disappointment. 27-0 and 4 interceptions in the first half? My god, things never change in Duval.
Throws wide open, making the catch. Marvin Jones for the touchdown. Lawrence protected well. Going deep, has a man open again. Zay Jones for the touchdown. For Cameron Dicker. And this time, no good. Lawrence fires into the end zone. Caught! And Lawrence reaches over and scores. 3 backs behind him. To the outside. ETN. First down and a ton more. Likely on Kansas City. Here we go for the win.
You won? You actually won? The Chargers chargered it. This team honestly feels like destiny. The defense held the Chargers to only 3 points in the second half, so honestly you have the chance to beat the Chiefs. Do it, Jacksonville. Do it for Uche. Okay, I know you put up a hell of a fight and no one thought you would be here, but this is a very winnable game. You let Chad Henne come in when Mahomes went down and lead a 98-yard touchdown drive. Chad Henne. Also, your defensive coordinator seems to have forgotten the Chiefs have Travis fucking Kelce. Nonetheless, this is obviously the best season the Jags have had in a while. Throwing money at everything seems to be working. Trayvon Walker and the defense are a young group with a ton of potential. Doug Peterson is doing a great job as head coach, and Trevor Lawrence is leading this team to success. Things seem to be on the rise in Jacksonville, and since they're in a shitty AFC South, I believe we'll see them in the playoffs again for a while. Maybe the legacy of failure will end and the Jags will win the Super Bowl. Or they'll fuck it all up, who knows.